Today we're going to talk about adding and subtracting integers. So when we talk about adding and subtracting integers, we'll just break it down to adding and then subtracting. Now when we talk about adding, you have two different types. You have one where you have the same sign. For instance, something that you've done a ton of is something like this, 5 plus 12. That's easy, that's 17. And the rule applies also if we're talking about negatives. So, if you have negative 13 plus negative 5, well, that's just negative 18. If it's the same side, you just add. That's all there is to it, and you just keep the sign. Nothing more difficult than that. The challenge comes a little bit, though, is when you have a different sign. For instance, if you had a problem like 10 plus negative 3. Now, you got to think of it like this. You have 10 positives and 3 negatives, and hopefully it makes sense that positives and negatives cancel one another out. They're opposites of each other. So that's exactly what's going to happen here. You have 10 positives and 3 negatives. Well, you're going to have some canceling happening. Well, canceling is just like subtracting. You're going to be taking away. So what you're going to do is you're going to subtract 10 minus 3, and you're going to get 7. And then the question is, which one of those, positives or negatives, did I have more of? Well, I had more positives, so my answer is going to be a positive. Okay, let's try another one. What if I had negative 8 plus 5? Again, you're going to have some canceling going on. Okay, you have 8 negatives and 5 positives. So you're going to go through and subtract 8 minus 5, and there's going to be 3 left over. Well, 3 of what? Well, there's 8 negatives and 5 positives. So there's more negatives, so you'll have more negatives left over. Okay, what about this one? What do you think there? Negative 4 plus 16. Well, again, if I subtract, I'm going to get 12, and there'll be more positives, so my answer is positive. Let's try one more. Negative 32 plus 20 equals. Well, once again, you have more negatives than positives, so if I subtract, I'll get 12 as an answer, but this time there'll be 12 negatives because there were more negatives to begin with. Now, let's move on to subtracting. Subtracting, again, the most basic one would be something like this, something that you've been doing since probably first, second, third grade. 14 minus 8, that's easy, that's 6. But the problem comes when we get into situations that look more like this, 8 minus 14. And what I like to suggest is this. Since most people understand this part pretty easy, okay, with the addition, just change every subtraction problem into addition problem. And what you're going to do is you're going to follow this rule. Same, change, change. Same, change, change. And what that means is you're going to keep the first number the same. You're going to change minus to plus, and you're going to change the sign of this number. Okay, so 8 minus 14 is the same thing as 8 plus negative 14. And now we're just going to follow the rules that we just did up here. So there's 8 plus negative 14. There's more negatives, so I subtract. And there's more negatives, so my answer is negative. Okay, let's try another one. What if I had negative 5 minus 6? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do same, change, change. And then just follow the rules of addition. I have 2 negatives, so my answer is negative 11. Okay. Let's try another one. What about 8 minus negative 2? What I'm going to do is, again, same, change, change. Okay, it's always those 3 things. Same, change, change. 8 plus 2 is 10. Last one. What about this one? Negative 12 minus negative 6. Same, change, change. Okay, I have more negatives than positives. I'm going to go through and subtract. I get 6. I get more negatives, so negative 6. And there you have it. That's how you go about adding and subtracting integers.